the media, right? The media have had a massive role to play in influencing doctors, members of the public, and even policymakers, right? And the media, if you look at how accurate are the media in reporting healthcare stories, and this was a publication in JAMA a few years ago, and it showed that in almost all media stories, most of them did not fulfill criteria for accurate reporting of the results of the trials they're reporting on. Now let me give you this example. Now some of you may be hearing, and I'm sure I've heard this, I had a debate which was hosted by Bharkat Dutt, and some of you may have seen a few months ago, right? And I was put up against a number of people who were arguing against me in India about how the vaccine has saved so many lives and how COVID is causing heart attacks, etc. This was a headline in the Times newspaper 3 months ago. I was sent this by a doctor who's on site, and he said, Aseem, are you sure the vaccine's a problem? Are you sure it's not COVID? This was a headline. Even mild COVID linked to heart disease and strokes. Okay? Is this true? Do we think that it could be true? But is it true? So I went to look at the original research on which this headline was based, published in BMJ Heart, okay? And the conclusions are these. Individuals hospitalized with COVID-19 have increased risk of cardiovascular events. So these people are hospitalized during the original Wuhan strain, by the way. And we know if you had obesity or heart disease, you're more likely to have problems, right? But this was not there in people who were not hospitalized with mild COVID. But what's really interesting is they found something else. People with mild COVID, they couldn't explain the findings. People with mild COVID had a lower risk of having a heart attack. So what's going on with the Times headlines there? This is just this is pure propaganda. Pure propaganda. Now, I want to play devil's advocate here. Why should you listen to Aseem, Malhotra, or Peter McCullough? What about the regulators? That's what their job is, right? They're supposed to regulate, look at the data rigorously. Can we trust the regulators? No, we can't. I want to trust the regulators. I want them to be doing their job properly, so people like me and Peter can't spend so much of our time in this space, right? Energies, time, everything. You know, we want to be able to trust our authoritative figures so we can have better population health, but unfortunately we can't, because this investigation in the BMJ showed most of the major regulators in Western countries around the world were being funded by pharma. 65% of the funding of the FDA, 86% of the funding of the MHRA are being funded by pharma. Now, Donald Light, who was a sociologist, who's looked at this for a long time and researched in this area, he was quoted in the BMJ, and I think this is the most perfect way of describing the situation. Can we trust the regulators? It is the opposite of having a trustworthy organization independently and rigorously assessing medicines. They're not rigorous, they're not independent, they are selective and they withhold data. Doctors and patients must appreciate how deeply and extensively drug regulators cannot be trusted so long as they are captured by industry funding. Okay, let's talk about the harms. Let's try and break it down. Best available evidence. Now, Joseph Freeman, Peter Doshi, associate at the BMJ, Robert Kaplan from Stanford, they were able to go back with new data and reanalyze Moderna and Pfizer's original trials. These are the trials that led to the approval of the vaccine. What have they found in terms of absolute harms? 1 in 800 serious adverse events. But this is more interesting. The original trials during the ancestral strain of the virus, they found in those trials, you were more likely to suffer a serious adverse event from the vaccine than you were to be hospitalized with COVID. What does that mean? In my view, that suggests these vaccines should never have been approved for anyone in the beginning. And this is even more, I just found more explicable and shocking. The World Health Organization, when the vaccines were being approved, they endorsed a list, this is in my paper, they endorsed a list of what could go wrong with these vaccines in terms of side effects, right? Anything and everything that can go wrong with the heart is on that list. From cardiac arrest, heart attacks, myocarditis, pericarditis, angina, supraventricular arrhythmias, it's all on that list. Why were doctors not given this list? Doctors around the world who are willfully blind to these harms, so vaccine injuries. In medicine, if you're not, even if I remember in medical school, we are taught to learn about some of the rarest conditions that we may never see. But the reason we learn about this is if we're not aware of the cluster of symptoms that give you the diagnosis, you'll always miss it. Even if this was rare, give that to the doctors to see, so they're aware of this potential harm. They were not given this list. It's extraordinary. And they based this list upon the animal studies, the vaccine platform that was being used, harms from other vaccines, and even COVID itself, a lot of the complications we see from vaccine injuries are the complications you see in people with severe COVID. Okay, that's what's happening there.